My parents helped my brother buy a house and told me to rent somewhere, so I used my savings to buy my first property, then kept buying more. When he asked about my house, I said, "Which one?" The thing about being the forgettable son is that people forget you're in the room. I was sitting at my parents' dining table eating leftover meatloaf that had the texture of regret when my mom handed my brother Kyle an envelope. Not a birthday card, not a graduation gift, just a random Tuesday in April. Kyle opened it. His eyes went wide. "Holy crap. Are you serious?" My dad grinned like he just won something. "You're ready, son. Time to invest in your future." Kyle pulled out a check, held it up like Willy Wonka's golden ticket. $10,000. I kept chewing my meatloaf, which suddenly tasted like disappointment with a side of gravy. For the house, Mom said, practically glowing. Our little homeowner. Kyle was 26. I was 28. Kyle had been fired from 3 jobs in 2 years. His credit score was so bad that credit card companies sent him rejection letters as a courtesy. He still Venmo requested our parents for gas money every other week. But sure, he was ready for home ownership. "That's awesome, man," I said, and I meant it. Sort of. Mom looked at me like she just remembered I existed. "Oh, Jordan, how's your apartment? Still in that same place?" Still in that same place, like it was a temporary holding cell I'd eventually graduate from. "Yeah," I said. "Actually, I've been thinking about buying something. Maybe a small rental property. I've saved up about rental property." Dad laughed. Actually laughed like I just suggested I was joining the circus. "Jordan, come on, that's way over your head. You manage apartments, you don't own them. Maybe try renting something nicer first. Baby steps." Baby steps. At 28, Kyle smirked into his mashed potatoes. Didn't say anything. Didn't have to. I nodded, smiled. "You know what? You're probably right." Mom patted my hand in that way that's supposed to be comforting, but feels more like someone patting a dog who just peed on the carpet. "We just want what's best for you, sweetie. No need to take unnecessary risks." Here's the thing about being the disappointment. It's not one big moment. It's 1,000 small cuts that eventually spell out not good enough in scar tissue. When I was 12, I built this elaborate model city for a school project. Spent 3 weeks on it. Every building had working lights. I wired myself. Won first place in the school's science fair. Dad's response: "Well, at least you're good with your hands." 2 months later, Kyle got honorable mention in a swim meet. Dad bought him a new laptop and took him to Disneyland. I got a pat on the back. Mom wasn't always like this. When I was really little, she'd sit with me while I drew hot chocolate and promises that I'd be an architect someday. Someone who built things. Then Kyle started winning things. And I became Jordan's doing fine in his own way, which is code for, "Will you stop expecting anything?" I drove home to my apartment. 3rd floor, no elevator. $1,150 a month for 520 square feet of cozy, which is real to speak for. You can touch all 4 walls from the center of the room. My neighbors were a drummer who practiced at 2 a.m. and a woman named Cheryl who collected ceramic frogs, all 47 of them with backstories. But it was mine. Well, I pay for it every month on time. I sat on my couch, a brown quarter monstrosity from Facebook Marketplace with mysterious stains, and opened my laptop. For the last 6 months, I'd been doing something my family didn't know about. Actually studying real estate investing, not YouTube videos. Real studying. I'd taken an online course, read 7 books, joined forums where actual investors talked about cap rates and cash-on-cash returns. I'd even paid $300 for a weekend seminar. And I'd been saving every spare cent for 3 years. No vacations. My last vacation was sleeping on my friend Devin's hotel room floor because I couldn't afford my own room. No new car. My 2008 Honda Civic had 187,000 miles and a check engine light that had achieved permanent residence. No eating out unless it was 2 for 1 at a place with health code violations. After 3 years, $22,000 saved. I'd been watching a property for 2 months. A duplex on the east side, foreclosed, bank-owned. The listing photos looked like crime scene investigation shots. Peeling paint, overgrown lawn, one window boarded up with a 2012 campaign sign but structurally sound. Both units rented month to month to tenants who'd been there for years. Asking price $89,000. I'd run the numbers so many times I could recite them in my sleep. With $20,000 down and a conventional loan at 6.5%, my mortgage would be $550 monthly. The units brought in $1,400 combined rent. After taxes, insurance, maintenance reserves, and vacancy allowance, I'd clear about $400 monthly. Plus, I'd own an asset, something that would appreciate, something with my name on the deed. I'd already gotten pre-approved, already scheduled Friday's inspection. All I had to do was make the offer. But I kept hearing my dad's laugh. That's way over your head. I stared at the listing at my calculations. Then I heard my own voice. The one that had survived 6 years of not being enough. Screw it. I emailed my agent Lisa. Let's do it. Full asking price. Hovered over sent, clicked it, and didn't tell my family a goddamn thing. The next 3 weeks were the longest of my life. Offer acceptance, inspection, appraisal, more paperwork than should be legal. My loan officer Patricia called constantly. We need proof of employment. We need your last 2 pay stubs. We need a letter explaining the coffee purchase from 2021. Okay, that last one was an exaggeration. Barely. During this, I still showed up to Sunday dinners. The Sunday after my offer, Kyle announced his mortgage approval. Closing in 3 weeks, he said, passing green beans. Mom teared up. Our boy a homeowner. Dad raised his iced tea to Kyle and to Smart Investments. I raised my water. Said nothing. After dinner, loading the dishwasher, Mom found me. You seem quiet tonight. Just tired. How's work? Fine. Still managing that complex. She dried a plate with a live laugh. Love towel. You know, if you wanted to go back to school, your father and I could probably help with some of it. Some help with some of maybe going back to school? Pal got $10,000 cash. I'm good, Mom. Thanks. She squeezed my shoulder. We just worry about you. Translation. We've decided your life is sad. At 11:47 p.m., my phone buzzed. Lisa appraisal came in at $91,000. You're good to close. Congrats. I stared at that text for 5 minutes. I was going to own property. I wanted to tell someone, call my parents. Shouted from my shaking third-floor apartment, but I didn't. This was mine. Closing day was 3 weeks later, Thursday. I told my boss I had a dentist appointment, wore my one good Target button down, drove to the title company that smelled like old coffee and broken dreams. Just me, Lisa, and Margaret, the title officer who'd been there since paper was invented. Sign here, initial here, date here. I signed until my hand cramped. Margaret handed me a folder. Congratulations, Mr. Hayes. You're officially a property owner. I walked out with documents, 2 sets of keys, and a feeling I'd never had before. Real pride, the earned kind. I sat in my Civic and called Devin. Yo, what's up? I did it. Bought a property. Closed today. Silence then. Holy, that's incredible. Did you tell your parents no? Why not? Because they'd find a way to make it about Kyle's house being better. Fair. What now? Now I go see it. I drove straight there. Parked. Stared. It looked worse than the photos. Weeds everywhere. Spray paint on the garage. One gutter defying physics. But it was mine. I knocked on unit. Maria answered. 50's warm smile. You must be Jordan. The new landlord. The new landlord. That was me. Just wanted to introduce myself. She looked relieved. The last owner never fixed anything. The bathroom sink's been dripping for 3 months. I'll have that fixed this weekend. Her face lit up. Really? Really? I spent an hour walking both units, making lists, long lists. But standing there in my property with my tenants who needed help, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Purpose. I took one photo. Me, keys in hand in front of the duplex, almost posted it to Facebook, almost sent it to the family group chat. Then I remembered my dad's laugh, my mom's pat, Kyle's smirk. I deleted it. They didn't get to be part of this. Not yet, maybe not ever. That first weekend as a property owner, I learned 3 things. 1, fixing a dripping sink sounds easy until you're under it with water spraying in your face. 2, YouTube tutorials lie. Quick 15-minute fix means 3 hours and 2 trips to Home Depot. 3, there's something deeply satisfying about fixing things you actually own. I spent Saturday at Unit A fixing Maria's sink, replacing 2 light fixtures that flickered like Morse code, and discovering the previous owner had fixed the garbage disposal by unplugging it and hoping no one noticed. Maria brought me lemonade around noon. Homemade. You didn't have to do this, she said. I told you I would. The last owner said that too. Never showed up. I tightened the final connection and hit the switch. The disposal roared to life. Maria actually clapped. You're a miracle worker. I'm a guy with YouTube and stubbornness. I drove home that night, exhausted, covered in grime, with a $240 Home Depot receipt. But I felt something I hadn't felt at my regular job in years. Useful. Sunday dinner was Kyle's celebration. His closing had gone through Friday. I showed up with sale wine from Trader Joe's. The house smelled like pot roast. Official important family event smell. Kyle and Amanda was showing everyone phone photos. 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, 2-car garage. The backyard is huge. Mom was vibrating with pride. Show them the kitchen. I looked when the phone got passed. Nice. Cookie cutter suburban. Nice. Exactly like 6 other houses on the same street. Congrats, man. It's great. Thanks. You should come see it. Maybe you'll get inspired to buy something yourself someday. Someday. Like it was this distant, impossible dream. I smiled. Maybe. In the kitchen doing dishes, my permanent assignment, Dad came in. Your brother's really making something of himself, he said, grabbing a beer. Yep, that's what happens when you make smart decisions. Stable job, good woman thinks ahead. I scrubbed a plate harder than necessary. You could have that too. If you just stop with the apartment management thing and get a real career. I like my job. Do you? Or are you just comfortable being comfortable? I wanted to tell him right then that I own property, that I'd done it without help, but something stopped me. Pride, spite. Maybe I just wanted to see how long I could keep it secret. I'm doing fine, Dad. He shrugged. If you say so, just don't wait too long to grow up. I stood there, hands in soapy water, and made a decision. I was going to buy another property. Property number 2 came in October. I'd started checking listings obsessively. Every morning, lunch break, before bed. Lisa probably thought I was insane. You just closed 4 months ago. She said, you sure you're ready? What about that duplex on Maple Street? The one that needs a new roof? That one, Jordan? That's expensive. At least $10,000 for the roof, but it's $75,000 for a duplex. Even with a new roof, the numbers work. Silence. You've really done your homework. I don't sleep much. The Maple duplex was rough. The roof had survived multiple apocalypses. One unit was vacant because the ceiling leaked, basically an indoor water feature. But the other unit had Frank, an older guy who lived there 8 years. Paid $650 monthly, never late. I can work with this. I told Lisa, you're either brave or insane. Can it be both? I offered $70,000. They counted at $72,000. I accepted. This time I used a Helicon Property 1 for part of the down payment. Riskier, more debt, but the math worked. I closed in November. 6 months after Property 1, Devin helped me clean out the vacant unit. We filled an entire dumpster. This is insane, he said, hauling trash. You really own 2 properties now. Technically, the bank owns most of them. Still 2 more than I own. 2 more than Kyle owns. Kyle's house is nicer. Yeah, but he didn't buy it himself. You did? That landed differently than I expected. I spent every weekend for 2 months fixing it. New roof, $9,800. Ouch. New flooring, $2,100. Paint fixtures, deep cleaning. By January, both units were rented. Combined $1,350 monthly. Property 1, $400 cash flow. Property 2, $380 cash flow. Total $780 monthly passive income. 8 months more progress than 6 years of regular employment. The close call came at Sunday dinner in February. Jessica, my sister who usually ignored me, asked what I'd been up to, working mostly still at the apartment complex. I'd actually quit in December. The passive income wasn't enough to live on, but I picked up property management contracts for other small investors. Same money, flexible hours. Sort of property management consulting now. Dad perked up. Consulting? That sounds fancy. Not that fancy. Just helping small landlords. Kyle laughed. So you're still fixing toilets just for multiple places now? Everyone laughed. I smiled. Something like that. What I didn't say, I was fixing toilets and properties I owned. Properties worth $161,000 combined, generating $780 monthly passive income. Loading the dishwasher. Shocking. Mom found me. I worry about you. You seem distant lately. Just focused on work. That's good. Focus is good. She hesitated. If you ever need help. I know, Mom. Thanks. She left looking unsatisfied, like she wanted me to confess. I was struggling so she could save me. But I wasn't struggling. For the first time in my life, I was winning. I just wasn't telling them. Property 3 came in May. A small single-family house near a popular hiking area. The owner was tired of landlording. Listed at $95,000. I offered $88,000. She accepted immediately. Instead of long-term rental, I tried something new, short-term vacation rental. I spent $6,000 furnishing it from IKEA and Facebook Marketplace. Took photos with my phone and a $30 Amazon tripod. Listed it on Airbnb. Booked within 3 days. By summer, that house was generating $2,100 monthly, more than both duplexes combined. Devin came to see it. This is genius. Why didn't you do this with the others? Learning as I go. Each property teaches me something. 3 properties in a year. That's insane. It was, but it was working. Monthly cash flow. $400 plus $380 plus $2,100 equals $2,880. After expenses and reserves, I was clearing $1,800 monthly profit. Not enough to quit consulting, but enough to feel genuinely secure for the first time ever. And my family had no idea. The real close call came at Kyle's birthday barbecue in August. I was by the grill when Dad's friend Robert walked over. Robert did commercial real estate, had known our family forever. "Hey Jordan, your dad tells me you're doing property management." "Yeah, something like that." "Any interest in commercial? I've got a client looking for someone. I'm focused on residential right now." "Smart. Residential is hot. You investing yourself or just managing for others?" I felt Dad's attention shift. "Little bit of both," I said carefully. "Good for you. Real estate's the best wealth builder. Wish I'd started younger." Kyle joined us spear in hand. "What are we talking about, real estate? Your brother's getting into it." Kyle laughed. "Jordan, come on. He manages apartments. Actually manages properties," Robert corrected. "There's a difference." Dad looked uncomfortable. I excused myself in the kitchen. Mom cornered me. Robert seemed impressed. "He's just being nice." "Are you really investing in real estate?" "I'm exploring it." "That's wonderful. Maybe your father was wrong about baby steps." I left early, told them I had an Airbnb check-in, which was true, but also convenient. On the drive home, I realized something. I'd been hiding my success because I was afraid of their judgment. Afraid they'd diminish it. But the secret was getting harder to keep. And part of me was starting to want them to know. Not for approval, just to see that they'd been wrong about me. Completely, utterly wrong. Property 4 came in September and it changed everything. Not because it was special. Another duplex similar to the others. Needed work, had tenants, made sense on paper. But it made my portfolio worth over $300,000, and it was the one that would eventually end up in the newspaper. By October, I had 4 properties, 11 rental units, monthly cash flow of $3,400 after expenses. I'd quit doing property management consulting, managing my own portfolio full-time now, which meant when people asked what I did, I had to get creative. Real estate, I'd say, vaguely, like sales, like investing. That usually ended the conversation. People either got uncomfortable about money or assumed I was exaggerating. My family assumed the latter. Thanksgiving was at my parents' house. I almost didn't go. I'd been to maybe 3 Sunday dinners in 6 months. Each time felt more disconnected, but Mom called personally. "Please come. I miss you." So I went. Kyle and Amanda had news. You could tell by their looks and smiles. We made it through the appetizers before Kyle stood up. "Amanda and I have an announcement. We're pregnant." The room exploded. Mom cried, Dad hugged them. Jessica squealed. I clapped along, said, "Congratulations." Meant it mostly. The conversation naturally circled back to them. Baby names, due dates, nursery colors, you'll need more space. Dad said, "When you're ready, we can help again. Family investment." I cut my turkey and said nothing. Jessica turned to me. "What about you, Jordan? Still doing property management, real estate investing now?" That got confused attention. "Investing?" Dad asked. "With what money?" There it was. "I've been saving." Kyle laughed. Not mean, just disbelieving. "Dude, investment properties are expensive. You'd need like $30,000 just for a down payment." "I'm aware." Dad set down his fork. "Jordan, be realistic. Investment property isn't for beginners. You could lose everything. You should go back to school first, get an MBA. Then maybe look at real estate." I took a sip of water, counted to 5. "I appreciate the advice." The conversation moved on, but I caught Dad and Kyle exchanging a look. The "we'll talk" sense into him later. "Look, loading the dishwasher because some things never change." Kyle found me. "Hey, I wasn't trying to shoot you down. I know, it's just real estate is risky. My mortgage is crushing me. I'm barely breaking even most months." That was news. I thought you had it figured out. He laughed bitterly. Turns out a $100,000 doesn't automatically make you good with money. Property taxes, HOA fees. It's a lot. I almost told him then. Almost said I owned 4 properties, that I'd learned everything he was failing at, but I didn't. "Thanks for the advice," I said. The article happened by accident. A local business journal was doing a feature on young real estate investors. They'd been pulling public records. My name came up. Michelle Chin, the reporter, called in December. "Jordan Hayes. I'm working on a feature about millennial investors. Public records show you own 4 properties. Would you be interested in an interview?" I nearly dropped my phone. Yeah, that's correct. Would you be interested?" My first instinct was no, stay hidden. But something stopped me. Maybe I was tired of hiding. Maybe I wanted validation. Maybe I needed proof this was real. Sure, I said. The interview was at a coffee shop. Michelle was professional, took notes on actual paper. She asked about my strategy financing, how I started. I told her everything. The saving, the studying, the sacrifices. Did your family help you get started? No. They didn't know I was doing this. She looked up. They didn't know. I kept it quiet. They didn't think I was capable. What changed? I got tired of waiting for their approval. She scribbled notes. Self-made investor builds portfolio in silence. People love that story. The article was scheduled for early January. I didn't tell my family. The article went live on January 8th, Tuesday. I woke up to Michelle's email. Your feature is live. I clicked. There it was. My name, my photo, the whole story. Headline: How one 28-year-old built a real estate portfolio in 18 months without family money. Numbers included: properties owned, portfolio value $320,000, monthly cash flow $3,400. A quote from me. Success isn't about having advantages. It's about using what you have and refusing to quit. I screenshot it, sent it to Devin. Devin: Holy crap, you're famous. Me: hardly. Devin: Your family is going to lose their minds. He was right. The call came at 11:23 a.m. Mom, I answered. Hello, Jordan. Her voice is shaky. Someone sent me an article about you about real estate. It says you own 4 properties. Is that true? Yes. Long, heavy silence. Jordan: How? When? Why didn't you tell us? I tried. Remember, you laughed. We didn't. We thought you were just talking. I was doing it the whole time while you worried I'd never grow up. Her voice cracked. It says you're worth over $300,000. That's the property value. I still have mortgages. I heard her breathing. I need to call your father. She hung up. 10 minutes later, the family group chat exploded. Dad, Jordan, call me now. Kyle, is this real, this article? Jessica: What, you own 4 properties, Mom? Why didn't you tell us? I watched the messages pile up. Watched them process something that didn't fit their narrative. Finally, I typed, it's all real. Built it myself. No help, no family money, just work. The chat went silent. Then, Dad, we need to talk. Sunday dinner. You need to be there. I looked at that message for a long time. Part of me wanted to say no to protect what I'd built. But another part, the part that had spent 28 years trying to prove I was enough, wanted them to see it. I'll be there, I typed. Then I closed my phone and went to check on property 2. Because regardless of what my family thought, I still had work to do. And for the first time in my life, that work felt like winning. Sunday came faster than I wanted. I showed up at 4:55 p.m. in jeans and a hoodie because I'd stopped pretending to try. My Civic looked sad next to Kyle's Audi in the driveway. Mom opened the door before I could knock. Her eyes were red. She'd been crying. Jordan: Hey, Mom. She pulled me into a hug that lasted too long. When she pulled back, she was crying again. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Mom, it's okay. It's not okay. We didn't see you. Really see you. Dad appeared behind her. He looked older, somehow tired. Come in, son. The dining room table was set with nice plates. Pot roast again, Mom's emotional support meal. Kyle and Amanda were already seated. Jessica and Tom, too. Everyone staring. I sat down in my usual spot. So Dad started clearing his throat. We read the article, read the hub. I figured for properties $320,000 all in 18 months. Yeah. Kyle leaned forward. How did you where did you get the money for down payments? Saved it. $22,000 over 3 years. Used creative financing for the rest. Helix seller financing on 1 bank loans. But we thought you were barely making it. Mom said living in that tiny apartment, driving that old car. I was choosing to live that way, so I could invest instead. Dad set down his fork. I told you it was over your head. You did. I was wrong. The table went quiet. I was wrong about you. He continued, his voice rough. About what you were capable of, about what success looks like. You weren't failing. You were building something I couldn't see because I wasn't looking. Mom nodded, wiping her eyes. When I saw you on Sunday dinners, I thought you were stuck, lost, but you were working, planning. You were 10 steps ahead of all of us. Jessica spoke up. The article called you one of the most successful young investors in the metro area. That's what they wrote. And you did it without any help, without the $10,000 Kyle got. Kyle shifted uncomfortably. Speaking of which, I owe you an apology. I took that money knowing you got nothing. I told myself it was fair because I was more ready. But really, I just didn't want to rock the boat. Thanks, I said, and I meant it. Amanda squeezed his hand. We've been talking about how differently you two were treated. It wasn't intentional, Mom said quickly. We just thought Kyle seemed to need more help. You always seemed so independent. Independent was code for ignored. I said not angry, just honest. She flinched but nodded. You're right. And I'm sorry. Dad cleared his throat again. Can we see them, the properties? See what you built. I looked around the table at these people who doubted me, dismissed me, forgotten me, but also at Mom's red eyes. Dad's genuine regret, Kyle's uncomfortable honesty. They weren't perfect. This wasn't a movie where everything got fixed with one conversation, but it was something. Yeah, I said. You can see them. Saturday morning, I gave them the tour. Property 1 first. The duplex where it all started. Maria came out when she saw us, gave me a hug, told my parents I was the best landlord she'd ever had. Mom cried again. Property 2, the rough one with a new roof. Frank was outside gardening, waved, told my dad I'd fixed his sink in 20 minutes when the last owner had ignored it for months. Dad nodded slowly like he was recalculating everything he thought about me. Property 3, the Airbnb. Jessica walked through it like a museum. This is beautiful, Jordan. Really beautiful. Kay was quiet, just looking, processing property before we drove past. Tenants were home and I didn't want to disturb them. We ended at a coffee shop. Sat outside in the November cold with hot drinks. You built all this, Dad said. Without us? Yeah. I don't know what to say except I'm proud of you. Really proud. Thanks. Can I ask you something, Kyle said. Sure. Are you angry at us? I thought about it, really thought about it. I was for a long time, but not anymore. Why not? Because being angry at you was holding me back. And I realized I didn't need your approval to be successful. I just needed to do the work. Mom reached across the table, squeezed my hand. Can we start over? Can we do better? Maybe, but it's going to be different. I'm not coming back to be the disappointment. If I'm coming back, it's as an equal. That's fair, Dad said. We sat there as the sun started setting, talking. Really talking. For the first time in years, it wasn't perfect. There was still hurt, still years of damage that wouldn't heal overnight, but it was a start. 3 months later, Property 5 closed. Another duplex. This one is in better condition. The numbers were perfect. I posted about it on social media. First time I'd ever shared my real estate journey publicly. The caption, Property number 5, started with nothing but a dream and a savings account. No family money, no inheritance, just work. If you're thinking you can't do it because you don't have help, you're wrong. You just have to start. Within an hour, 200 likes, comments from strangers, thanking me for inspiration, messages, asking for advice, and one comment from Mom. So proud of you, sweetheart. Always have been, even when I didn't show it right. Love you. I liked her comment. Devin called 5 properties. You're basically a real estate mogul now. I'm a guy who owns 5 small properties and still drives a Civic with a check engine light. Yeah, but now it's by choice. He was right. I'd built something real, something that couldn't be taken away. Something I created from nothing but discipline, sacrifice, and refusing to stay small just because people couldn't see me. That evening I drove to Property 1, sat on the front porch, watched the sun go down. My phone buzzed. Dad, hey son, your mother and I were talking. We'd like to take you to dinner. Celebrate properly. Your choice of restaurant. A year ago I would have been suspicious. Looked for the catch. Now I just smiled. Sure, Dad. That sounds good. We made plans for Tuesday. I hung up and looked at my property. My first property, the one that started everything. It wasn't perfect. The paint could use a refresh. The lawn needed work, but it was mine. Just like this life I'd built. Not perfect, not easy, but completely undeniably mine. And that was enough. Actually, it was more than enough. It was everything.